Hello, DeVika. I'm so excited for today's conversation. I
Mm.
got mesmerized by everybody's photos, though. I really like our intro.
I do. I love the black and white one. That's one of my. I was like, oh,
You're like, why didn't I get that color
that
scheme?
I don't think exactly. I'm gonna have a talk with her. Anyway, anyway, how are you? I'm so excited to talk about the topic today. Last week we talked about how people can help and how people can just be with things that are happening in the world. And we talked about, most importantly, how you can just listen, how listening goes a long way. And then what I want to bring to that conversation and then extend a little bit is something that you and I have been kind of dancing in all week, which is when you're listening and speaking to people, are you listening to what's so, or are you listening for what's wrong? And a lot of people cannot help themselves. They come from the view that something must be wrong. Someone must be wrong. Someone, something wrong. Versus, this is just what's so. This is just what's happening. There's no wrong, there's no right, there's no like up or down. There's just this is what is happening, and the impact of what is happening is sufficient. And we're going to step away from like the headlines right now because there are a lot of headlines that people are like, oh my gosh, no, that's wrong that a dude killed 18 people in Maine this morning. I got it. I got that. And what's so is sufficient. What's so is when we focus on what's wrong, we take ourselves away from dealing with the families that are now impacted. We take ourselves away from listening for what's going to provide healing. We focus on the wrong and what is wrong instead of what is now needed, what is now wanted, what is now going to make a difference. And that only happens when you are focused on what's so. But DeVika, the what's so is blah, 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 blah. I got that that's what's so. But the moment that you come from, it's wrong. Now you're in a whole different place, managing a whole bunch of different conversations that will yield an outcome, but it may not be the outcome of healing or making a difference. Um, for those of you who don't know, I run the page Naturally Polyamorous. I have about, I don't know, 15,000 followers. And then I have like a group of people who like my page, but don't follow my page, which I find hilarious because that's like 17,000. So there's like at least 2,000 people out there who follow me, but don't like me or whatever it is, right? So that's always interesting. And I am quite rigorous when I can be linguistically. And there are some words that, especially sexologically, that when we're using them, we speak something into existence. And I recently posted that only polyamorous is the word polyamorous, and no other words are going to be heard in this space as a replacement to the word polyamorous. I think that post has probably been up for maybe an hour. I have had so many people, well, what's wrong with this word? And what's wrong with that word? And what's wrong with this? I didn't, I don't, what? I didn't say anything about something being wrong. I just said, oh, only this lotion bottle is this lotion bottle. And um, only this fragrance is this fragrance. And there will be no replacements for this fragrance. There's nothing wrong with the other things that kind of smell like it, but only this one smells like this one. But when we really get super committed to what's wrong, we cannot stand in the commitment of what's so. We cannot stand in, oh, she didn't say anything was wrong. She didn't say anybody was bad. She just said, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And we get to deal with what's happening, not our feelings, our emotions, our reactions, which are all valid. But if we're out to actually make a difference in what we're dealing with, then we get to deal with um we get to deal with what we want to deal with, not our reaction to what we're dealing with. Because the reaction to what we're dealing with versus dealing with what we're dealing with is what causes upset. Uh, Go ahead.
I was gonna say, because when you say it that way, right, we both know when I was in my depression, what is so was what brought me out of it. I was so buried in the emotion and the loss, and the just under the overwhelming emotions that I could not just simply say what was happening. I couldn't even say what was happening. And so when we talk about that, and when and I want everybody to hear this, what is so is the facts. This person shot this many people. That's what is so. What happens around that, when you can break it into what is so, that is where this is what this family will probably need. This is what this family, because of these injuries, will probably need. This is what this, instead of, oh my gosh, we're going to collapse and be mournful, we can't do anything because we're so mournful over those words. So it's not a matter, we want you to have the emotions, we want you to experience the emotions, but we want you to overcome them and be able to look at what has happened. And so when we say we're polyamorous, we're saying we're polyamorous. Therefore, somebody who is a swinger doesn't say, I'm polyamorous, but their choice is to not have the emotions attached. Polyamory has the emotions, it has the physical, it has as much as whatever relationship requires. So you cannot come in and say, I'm swinger polyamorous.
Well,
And that's what it means.
people do all manner of things, but I want to go back to what you were talking about, where, you know, when we deal with what's so, we can actually make a difference. You know, um, in your example, if two people are talking about two very different things, and we're all not paying attention. Well, I feel like this, and I feel like this, and I feel like this word should mean this, and I feel like, okay, great, but what so is this word means this, and this word means this. And if you're talking about two very different things, you're going to have two very different experiences inside of that conversation, right? And it impacts how we communicate, because a lot of times we're not actually communicating because we're dealing with not what's so, but our feelings about what's so. And so our friends, you'll be talking to somebody and they'll just be like, and blah, 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 and I was upset. And you don't even know what the hell happened. You can't even say anything because all you can deal with is the fact that they're upset. And if they want to be upset, that's fine. But you really cannot do anything with the upset if you don't have some of the what so.
Yep.
And the what so has reactions. There is mournfulness, there is upset, but it's a natural reaction to the what so, not what we make it mean. And this is a perfect example. I recently ended a partnership with someone, and when we got together, we would say that we would work together for this long. We work together for the summer, and for me, it's now November, and I realize, oh, I gave my word to this time and space. It's beyond that time and space. It's time for the partnership to end, not because anything's wrong, but because it's beyond the time and space that I said I could do this effectively. And the person wanted to have a conversation about what was wrong and can we fix what was wrong? And there's nothing wrong. Inside of that, they felt like I did not do what they wanted me to do, even though we sat down and we had meetings about what would be done and they agreed to that. Their experience is something is wrong, and that's why the partnership has to end. A lot of people in relationships, you're not dealing with what's so. You're not dealing with your partner and you are not a good fit. You're not dealing with they want different things than you do. You're not dealing with, you know, they believe that you need to be at home in the kitchen cooking and you want to be a big boss bitch running your own company. That's not a good fit.
We
So
had that conversation personally. Thanks for that jab. I left that relationship. Thank you.
I was not even dealing with it. But what happens is you get left with that. You get left with like pain and upset and trigger. And that's how the trigger gets there. Is now, you know, people can't talk about that because you're still dealing with the upset versus, oh my God, this dude's a misogynist asshat that thinks I need to be in the kitchen. And I am an independent, autonomous person who wants to be in the boardroom. It's just not, you know what? Thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the good time. Thanks for the mind blowing sex. Maybe we can be friends. I'll call you once in a while. No. We don't get there. We have to have something is wrong. Something is wrong. Somebody is wrong. Not always. Sometimes there's just what's so. Sometimes, I get relationships and I'll get people calling me and it's like, oh, well, my partner doesn't want to work on the relationship and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Your partner does not want to work on your relationship. No. You have to understand that's wrong. No, your partner doesn't want to work on the relationship. You can accept that at face value. That can be sufficient. You don't have to drive yourself nuts trying to find more evidence and trying to make it work. You can just accept it's not working or it's not working the way you want it to and go from there. Well, I deserve somebody who wants to work on the relationship. You do. Absolutely. It's just not going to be this person. It's just not going to be this relationship, or it's not going to be the work you want to do in the way that you want to do it with this person in the way that you're presenting it. That's
That
what
was what I was
so.
going to say.
That's what so. But as long as you fixate on, well, I'm being disrespected because you didn't do what I wanted you to do the way I wanted you to do it, or I'm doing this, but these are my valid feelings. They are your valid feelings. Your feelings are valid. That doesn't make them the same as what is so.
And it doesn't overwrite the feelings of what is so is I don't want to work on this relationship because I don't have a problem with it. What is so is I don't want to work on this relationship because I might just have my exit plan already. What is so is I don't want to work on this relationship because you're being crazy in this moment. Like, who knows what that is? And maybe you need to work on what your requests are, what your boundaries are, what you're dealing with, so that you can then say, I understand you don't want to work on this. However, these are the things that I would like to address.
And then you're both coming from a place of not making him wrong. Well, what do you mean you're happy with it? They mean they're happy with it. They don't. That's not a. It's not a trick. Um, I was somebody. I typed something on the internet earlier this week, and somebody was like, "I just want you to know I disagree with you," and blah blah blah. And they wrote this whole long response, and I was like, "Cool. I stand by what I said, but thanks for sharing that you disagree. Was there anything else that you wanted, or was your letting me know that you disagree sufficient?" Oh my goodness, that was the worst thing I could have said. But sometimes people You guys, you got to get that your disagreement, your upset, your whatever you're dealing with has nothing to do with impacting what you really want to impact, which is I want a partner who wants to grow in my relationship. And I don't have that in this relationship the way I want to really have it. Now you can deal with what is actually happening, not your feelings about it. We can deal with your feelings about it, but we get to deal with it in a framework of what's so. What's so is that there are things going on in the Middle East. There are things going on in your relationships. There are things going on in your family. There are things going on TV. And you feel a particular way about those things. When you can differentiate those two pieces, that's where the coaching and the transformation comes in. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Awesome. So we are at our time. Perfect timing, pretty much. We're like a minute and a half over. Over there.
I
Over
think
there.
it's over.
So my plants are on that side, but on the camera, they're on that side. QR codes are over there, away from the plants. I don't know how this is working, but I thought that would be a good cue. Please book with us.
This is my favorite part of the entire life is watching you figure out these QR codes.
Please book with us. Go book with DeVika, book with me if you want. If you like our humor, go and watch our other YouTubes. We have a whole playlist. So I really appreciate everybody. Thank you very much.